The phone call had shattered something inside Serena. For 3 days afterward, she moved through the mansion like a ghost. She jumped at every notification. She checked the locks twice before bed. She held Rosie so close at night that the toddler would squirm and complain, "Too tight, Mom." But she couldn't help it. Travis wanted her baby. The thought circled in her mind like a vulture, never landing, never leaving, just hovering, waiting. Knox noticed everything. He noticed how she barely touched her food, how her eyes would drift to the window at random moments, scanning for threats that weren't there, how she laughed a little too quickly at things that weren't funny, trying to pretend everything was fine. But he didn't push. Not yet. Instead, he did what he did best. He took action. On the third night after the call, Serena found Knox in his study. The room was impressive. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, dark wood furniture, multiple screens displaying financial data she couldn't begin to understand. But what struck her most was Knox himself. He was on the phone, standing by the window with his back to her. His voice was low but commanding, the voice of a man accustomed to being obeyed. "I don't care what the board thinks," Knox said into the phone. "The expansion happens on schedule. If Harrison has concerns, he can bring them to me directly instead of whispering in corners." There was a pause. Then Knox continued, his tone softening slightly but losing none of its authority. "And the distributions for the kindness recipients. Where are we on that?" Serena leaned against the doorframe, watching him. This was a side of Knox she rarely saw, like the billionaire, the CEO, the man who moved markets with a phone call and changed lives with a signature. "Good," Knox said. "Make sure the Martinez family gets their business loan by end of week. And the woman who gave me her sandwich on Peachtree Street, Eleanor Chen, she mentioned her daughter needed tuition help. Full scholarship, anonymous donor. Handle it." Serena's heart swelled. Even now, even with everything going on, he was still keeping his promise. Still rewarding the people who had shown kindness to a stranger on the street. Knox ended the call and turned. When he saw her standing there, something in his expression shifted. The CEO faded. The man emerged. "Hey," he said softly. "How long have you been standing there?" "Long enough," Serena replied, crossing the room toward him. "You're still doing it. Aren't the kindness list." "I made a promise to my father." Knox set down his phone and met her eyes. 97 people showed me compassion during that month. Every single one of them will have their lives changed. "And what number was I?" Serena asked, stopping just inches from him. She could smell his cologne, something warm and woodsy that made her want to lean closer. 98. "And what did I get?" Knox's eyes darkened with something that made Serena's breath catch. He reached out and tucked a loose tendril of hair behind her ear, his fingers lingering against her jaw. "Everything," he murmured. "You got everything." The air between them thickened. Serena could feel her heart pounding against her ribs. She was acutely aware of his proximity, the warmth radiating from his body, like the way his eyes dropped briefly to her lips before returning to meet her gaze. "Knox," she whispered. "I'm going to protect you," he said, and his voice had that commanding edge again, but softer now. Intimate. "You and Rosie. Travis is not going to take her. He's not going to touch either of you. Do you understand?" Serena nodded slowly, overwhelmed by the intensity in his eyes. "I need to hear you say it," Knox pressed gently. His thumb traced her cheekbone. "Do you trust me?" "I trust you," Serena breathed. Knox held her gaze for a long moment. Then he leaned down and pressed a kiss to her forehead. Slow, deliberate, reverent. When he pulled back, Serena felt the absence of his warmth like a physical loss. "Now," Knox said, his tone lightening just enough to break the tension. "We have more pressing matters to discuss." "Like what?" "Like the fact that you start your new job in 4 days and have nothing to wear." Serena blinked. "That's your pressing matter? You're going to be representing excellence." Knox's lips curved into a smile that was equal parts charming and dangerous. "You should look the part. The boutique Knox took her to was nothing like Serena expected. She had braced herself for some intimidating designer establishment with cold salespeople and prices that would make her physically ill. Instead, the car pulled up to a charming shop on a tree-lined street, with hand-painted signage and flower boxes in the windows. "This is the place?" Serena asked, stepping out of the sleek black car. "Patricia's," Knox said, placing his hand on the small of her back to guide her toward the entrance. The touch was casual but possessive in a way that made Serena hyper-aware of every point of contact. She's been in business for 30 years, makes custom pieces for people who actually appreciate craftsmanship over labels. "And you know her how?" "She made my mother's dresses." Something flickered in Knox's expression, a shadow of old grief. "After my mother passed, Patricia took me under her wing, made sure I always looked presentable for business meetings I was too young to be attending." Serena's heart ached for the boy he must have been. Orphaned young, thrust into a world of boardrooms and billion-dollar decisions. She reached for his hand without thinking. His fingers interlaced with hers immediately, like they belonged there. "She sounds wonderful," Serena said softly. "She is." Knox squeezed her hand. And she's going to love you." Patricia was everything Knox had promised. She was in her late 60s, with silver hair swept up in an elegant twist and warm brown skin that crinkled around her eyes when she smiled. She wore a flowing emerald dress that moved like water when she walked, and she embraced Knox like he was her own son. "Knox Crawford," Patricia said, pulling back to study his face with sharp, knowing eyes. "It's been too long. You've been working too hard. I can see it in your face." "You always could read me like a book," Knox replied with genuine affection. Patricia turned her attention to Serena, and her expression shifted to something approving. "And who is this beautiful young woman?" "Patricia, this is Serena." Knox's hand found the small of Serena's back again, steadying and claiming all at once. She's everything." The simple declaration made Serena's cheeks warm. Patricia's eyebrows rose. She looked between them, at the way Knox stood slightly angled toward Serena, protective even in this safe space. At the way Serena seemed to gravitate toward his warmth without realizing it. "Well," Patricia said, a knowing smile spreading across her face. "It's about time you found someone who matters. Come, sweetheart, let's get you something beautiful." The next hour was a gentle war. Knox wanted to buy Serena everything. Every blouse she touched, every dress she admired, every accessory that caught her eye. "This would look stunning on you," he said, holding up a silk wrap dress in deep burgundy. "Knox, that's $400, Serena protested, checking the discreet price tag. "Oit and I'm going to be answering phones and organizing files. I don't need silk." "You deserve silk," Knox corrected. His voice dropped lower as he stepped closer. "You deserve everything beautiful in this world, Serena. Let me give it to you." The intensity in his eyes made her breath stutter. "I appreciate it," she said carefully, "but I need to feel like myself, like I earned my place. Does that make sense?" Knox studied her for a long moment. Then something in his expression softened. Not disappointment, but respect. "It makes perfect sense," he said quietly. "But for the record, you've already earned more than you know." They compromised. Serena selected modest but well-made pieces. 6 blouses in soft neutrals, 3 pairs of tailored slacks, a blazer that made her feel powerful without being flashy, 4 corporate gowns. Knox watched her choose each item with careful consideration, and she could feel his eyes on her even when her back was turned. The awareness between them was constant. Electric. Every time their hands brushed, reaching for the same item. Every time she stepped out of the dressing room and his gaze traveled over her with barely concealed hunger. Every time he leaned close to murmur his approval, his breath warm against her ear. "You're beautiful," he said when she emerged in the final outfit, a simple cream blouse with gold fittings tucked into black slacks. "You're always beautiful. But this—" He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. The way he was looking at her said everything. It was while Knox was at the counter finalizing the purchase that Serena saw it. A shirt. It was hanging on a separate rack, and almost hidden between more elaborate pieces. Deep blue fabric, the color of midnight. Simple cut, impeccable construction. Nothing flashy. Just perfect. Perfect for Knox. Serena drifted toward it, running her fingers over the fabric. She could picture him wearing it. The way the color would deepen the warmth of his dark skin. The way the cut would emphasize his broad shoulders. She checked the price tag. Her heart sank a little. But then she looked at the bag of clothes Knox was buying her. 3 blouses she didn't really need. "Serena?" Knox's voice carried across the shop. "Ready to go?" "Almost," she called back. "Just need to check something. Give me 2 minutes." She didn't wait for his response. She grabbed her shopping bag and slipped into the back of the store. 5 minutes later, when Serena emerged with a slightly smaller bag and a secret hidden in her jacket pocket. She had returned 2 of her blouses. In exchange, she had the midnight blue shirt, wrapped carefully in tissue paper and tucked against her racing heart. "Find what you were looking for?" Knox asked, reaching for her hand as naturally as breathing. "I did," Serena said, lacing her fingers through his. "Everything's perfect now." That evening, after Rosie had been bathed, read to, and finally convinced to close her eyes, Serena found Knox on the terrace. He was standing at the railing, looking out over the darkened garden. The moonlight silvered his profile, catching the strong line of his jaw and the contemplative furrow of his brow. For a moment, Serena just watched him. This man, this impossible, generous, complicated man who had walked off a street corner and into her heart, who carried the weight of a billion-dollar empire on his shoulders, but still found time to build block towers with her daughter, who had seen her at her lowest and called her magnificent. "You're staring." His voice was amused but warm. He hadn't turned around. "How did you know?" Serena asked, walking toward him. "I can feel you." Knox turned then, and his eyes found hers in the darkness. "I always know when you're near." The admission hung between them, weighted with meaning neither of them was quite ready to unpack. "I have something for you," Serena said, suddenly nervous. Knox's eyebrow arched. "For me?" "Don't sound so surprised. People are allowed to give you things. They usually want something in return." The words were light, but Serena heard the old wound beneath them. All the people who had seen his money instead of him. All the women who had wanted his lifestyle instead of his heart. "Just open it," she said softly, pressing the tissue-wrapped package into his hands. Knox looked at her for a long moment before carefully unwrapping the paper. When he saw the shirt, he went very still. "Serena, I saw it in the store, and I couldn't stop thinking about it." The words tumbled out of her in a rush. "The color. It reminded me of your eyes when you're really listening to something important. And the fabric is so soft, and I just thought, I wanted to give you something. Something that was just from me." Knox wasn't looking at the shirt anymore. He was looking at her, and there was something in his expression that made her chest ache. "You returned your clothes," he said quietly. It wasn't a question. "How did you—" "Your bag was lighter when we left than when I was paying." His voice had gone rough. "Serena, you needed those clothes for work." "I have enough," she insisted. "And you've given me so much. I just wanted you to have something too." Knox carefully set the shirt aside. Then he closed the distance between them in one step and cupped her face in his hands. His palms were warm against her cheeks. His eyes were bright with something that looked dangerously close to tears. "No one has ever done that for me," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Given something up just to give to me. Not because they wanted something, just because I love you," Serena finished for him. The words hung in the moonlit air. Knox's breath caught. His thumbs traced her cheekbones, reverent and wondering. "Say it again," he murmured. "I love you." He kissed her then, not gentle, not tentative. He kissed her like he was drowning and she was air. His hands slid from her face into her hair, pulling her closer, deeper. Serena's fingers curled into the front of his shirt as she rose on her tiptoes to meet him. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Knox pressed his forehead to hers. "I love you too," he said against her lips. "So much it terrifies me." Serena smiled, her heart so full it hurt. Good. I'm terrified too. Then we can be terrified together. Together, she agreed. And there on the moonlit terrace, wrapped in each other's arms, everything felt possible. If that moment didn't make your heart skip, I don't know what will. And drop a comment with a heart if you're feeling all the feels right now. A week passed, then another. Serena started her new job at Morrison Financial, and to her surprise, she loved it. The work was challenging but meaningful. Her supervisor, Ms. Henderson, was demanding but fair, and her colleagues were kind, especially once they realized she was genuinely good at her job. Every morning, Eleanor would make her coffee exactly the way she liked it, strong with a splash of cream. Every evening, she would come home to find Knox and Rosie engaged in some elaborate game that seemed to have rules only the two of them understood. And every night, after Rosie was asleep, they would find each other. On the terrace under the stars, in the study surrounded by books, in the kitchen at midnight, sharing leftovers and secrets. Travis hadn't called again, hadn't texted, hadn't shown up. It was as if he had vanished back into whatever hole he had crawled out of. Maybe he gave up, Serena said one night, curled against Knox's side on the couch. His arm was around her shoulders, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her arm. It's been 2 weeks. If he was serious, he would have done something by now. Maybe, Knox said, but his fingers had stilled against her skin. Serena tilted her head to look at him. You don't believe that. I believe that men like Travis don't give up easily. Knox's jaw tightened. They retreat, they regroup, they come back when you least expect it. You're worried. I'm cautious. He pressed a kiss to her temple. But I also have people watching. If he makes a move, we'll know. Serena nodded, allowing herself to be reassured. She nestled closer, breathing in his familiar scent, and let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, the storm had passed. She was wrong. It happened on a Thursday afternoon. Serena was at her desk, finalizing a presentation for Ms. Henderson and humming softly to herself. The sun was streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Her coffee was perfectly warm. Everything felt right with the world. What she didn't know was that at that very moment, a tall man with smooth light brown skin and a perfectly groomed beard was striding through the marble lobby of Morrison Financial like he owned the place. Travis Davis moved through the world with the easy confidence of someone who had learned early that charm could unlock any door. He was wearing his best blazer, the one that made him look successful without trying too hard. His watch was fake but convincing. His smile was devastating and completely calculated. He approached the reception desk and leaned against it with practiced casualness, fixing the young woman behind the counter with the full force of his attention. "Good afternoon," Travis said, his voice warm as honey. "I'm looking for someone. Serena Brooks?" The receptionist, a young woman named Danielle, who had only been on the job for 3 months, looked up and immediately felt flustered. The man in front of her was undeniably handsome, and his smile made her feel like she was the only person in the world. "Ms. Brooks works on the executive floor," Danielle said. "Do you have an appointment?" "I'm family," Travis replied smoothly. "Her ex-husband, actually. I know that sounds complicated, but we share a daughter together. I'm trying to make things right, you know? Be a better father." He gave a self-deprecating shrug. "I wanted to surprise her. Show her I'm serious about being in their lives." Danielle's expression softened. A reformed father trying to reconnect with his child? That was the kind of story she loved. "That's really sweet," she said. "She's been through so much." Travis leaned closer, lowering his voice conspiratorially. "Raising our little girl all alone. I was a fool to ever leave them, but I'm trying to fix my mistakes. If I could just see her, talk to her face to face." Danielle hesitated. Protocol said she should call up and announce visitors. But this man seemed so sincere. And it was a family matter. A father trying to reconnect with his child. What harm could it do? "The executive floor is on 12, she said, glancing around to make sure no one was watching. "Elevators are straight through and to the left. Her desk is in the corner by the windows." Travis's smile widened. "Thank you so much. You have no idea what this means to me." He squeezed her hand briefly, a gesture that felt intimate and grateful, then headed for the elevators with a spring in his step. Danielle watched him go, feeling good about herself. She had helped reunite a family today. She had no idea what she had just done. Serena was mid-email when the shadow fell across her desk. "Hey, beautiful." The voice hit her like a bucket of ice water. She looked up, and her heart stopped. Travis was standing right there, in front of her desk, in her office, on the 12th floor of Morrison Financial, grinning like he had every right to be there. "What?" Serena's voice came out strangled. She pushed back from her desk, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. "How did you get up here?" "I have my ways." Travis spread his arms wide, taking in the gleaming office space with exaggerated appreciation. "Wow, Serena. Look at this place. Look at you." Serena's hands were trembling. She pressed them flat against her desk to hide it. "You can't be here," she said, fighting to keep her voice steady. "This is my workplace. You can't just—" "I wanted to see you." Travis's voice dropped to something softer, more intimate. "I've been thinking about you constantly since we talked. About us. About what we could be again. There is no us. There hasn't been for 2 years. And whose fault is that?" Travis stepped closer, and Serena instinctively stepped back, bumping into her desk. I made mistakes, Serena. I know that. But I've changed. I'm ready to be the man you needed me to be." Serena's mind was racing. Her co-workers were starting to notice the commotion. She could see heads turning, curious glances being exchanged. "This isn't the place for this conversation," she said tightly. "Then let's go somewhere else." Travis reached for her arm. "Lunch. Just the two of us. Give me a chance to explain." Serena jerked away from his touch. "Don't." Something flickered in Travis's eyes. A flash of frustration quickly smoothed away. "Okay," he said, holding up his hands in surrender. "Okay, I'm sorry, I'm pushing too hard." He took a breath, visibly composing himself. "Can we at least talk? 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking." Serena glanced around. People were definitely staring now. The last thing she needed was a scene in the middle of her workplace. "Break room," she said shortly. 5 minutes, and then you leave." The break room was empty, thank God. Serena closed the door behind them and turned to face Travis, her arms crossed protectively over her chest. "Talk," she said. Travis leaned against the counter, studying her with an expression that was probably meant to be tender but felt calculated. "You look incredible," he said. "Seriously, Serena. Working here, wearing those clothes, carrying yourself like that, you've really come up in the world. I don't need your commentary on my appearance. I'm just saying I'm proud of you." He tilted his head. "Morrison Financial. That's impressive. How did you land a gig like this?" "Hard work. And the boyfriend, right?" Travis's smile sharpened slightly. "He knocks Crawford. Word gets around." Serena's jaw tightened. "That's none of your business. It is when he's playing daddy to my daughter. You lost the right to call her that when you walked out?" "I made a mistake." Travis pushed off from the counter, his voice rising before he caught himself and softened again. "I was young and stupid and scared. I wasn't ready to be a father. But I'm ready now, Serena. I'm ready to be there for Rosie. For both of you. You don't get to just decide that." "Why not?" He moved closer, and Serena felt her back hit the break room door. "Why can't I try to make things right? Why can't I prove I've changed?" He was too close now. Serena could smell his cologne, something expensive that didn't match the man she remembered. Everything about him felt curated, performed. "We were good together once," Travis murmured, his voice dropping to something intimate. "Remember, Serena? Remember how happy we were? Remember how I used to make you feel?" Serena remembered. She remembered the good times, before everything fell apart, before he started staying out late with no explanation, before he looked at their newborn daughter like she was an inconvenience, before he packed a bag one ordinary Tuesday and never came back. "I remember you leaving," Serena said, her voice steady despite the trembling in her chest. "I remember being alone with a 3-month-old baby and no explanation. I remember calling you 47 times and never getting an answer. And I will spend the rest of my life making that up to you." Travis reached out, his fingers brushing her arm. If you let me. Serena pulled away. Don't touch me. Serena, I said don't touch me. Her voice was sharp now, cutting. You don't get to walk back into my life after 2 years and act like nothing happened. You don't get to show up at my job and talk about what we used to have. We don't have anything, Travis. You made sure of that. Travis's charming mask flickered. For just a moment, Serena saw something cold and calculating beneath it. Then it was gone, replaced by wounded sincerity. I understand you're angry, he said softly. You have every right to be. But I'm not giving up. I'm Rosie's father, Serena, her biological father. Doesn't she deserve a chance to know me? Serena felt the familiar guilt twist in her stomach. And what about the billionaire? Travis continued, pressing his advantage. Do you really think that's going to last? Men like Knox Crawford don't end up with women like... He stopped himself, but the damage was done. Women like me? Serena finished coldly. I didn't mean it like that. Yes, you did. Serena reached behind her and opened the break room door. We're done here. Get out of my workplace. Serena, get out. Her voice echoed through the open door. Heads turned in the office beyond. Travis looked at the watching faces, then back at Serena. His jaw tightened, but he forced his charming smile back into place. This isn't over, he said quietly, so only she could hear. I'm her father. I have rights. And when your billionaire boyfriend gets bored and moves on to the next shiny thing, I'll still be here. He walked out without another word, leaving Serena trembling in the break room doorway. But if you're screaming at your screen right now, drop a comment saying, the audacity of this man, because Travis really just showed up at her job. Serena didn't tell Knox about Travis's visit. Not that evening, when he asked about her day, and she said it was fine. Not that night, when they lay together on the couch and she stared at the ceiling, replaying Travis's words over and over. Men like Knox Crawford don't end up with women like you. When he gets bored and moves on, I'll still be here. She didn't tell him the next day either, or the day after that. But Knox knew something was wrong. He noticed how she picked at her food, how she flinched slightly when her phone buzzed, how she smiled a little too quickly, laughed a little too loudly, trying too hard to pretend everything was normal. On the third night, Auntie finally cornered her. They were in the kitchen after dinner. Rosie was in the playroom with Eleanor. Serena was washing dishes, something she insisted on doing herself, no matter how many times Knox reminded her they had staff for that. Serena. His voice was quiet but firm, the voice of a man who was done waiting. She kept scrubbing the same plate she had been scrubbing for the past 2 minutes. Yeah? Look at me. Slowly, she turned off the water and turned to face him. Knox was leaning against the counter, arms crossed, watching her with those intense brown eyes that seemed to see right through her. What's going on? He asked. Nothing. You're lying. I'm not. You've been distant for 3 days. You're not sleeping. You're barely eating. Something happened. And I need you to tell me what it is. Serena's grip tightened on the edge of the sink. Travis came to see me, she said finally. At work. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. What? Knox's voice was dangerously soft. 3 days ago, he showed up at Morrison, charmed his way past the receptionist and found me at my desk. He was in the building, my building, and you didn't tell me. I didn't want to worry you. That's not your decision to make. Knox pushed off from the counter, his jaw tight. What did he say? Serena hesitated. Serena. He said... She took a shaky breath. He said he wants to be a family again, that he's changed, that Rosie deserves to know her real father. And what else? She didn't answer. Knox crossed the space between them in 3 strides. He didn't touch her, but he was close enough that she could feel the heat radiating from his body. What else did he say? Knox asked again, his voice soft but unyielding. He said you would leave me. The words came out in a rush. That men like you don't end up with women like me. That I'm just a project to you, something to feel good about, and when you get bored... Stop. The single word was sharp enough to cut. Serena fell silent, tears burning behind her eyes. "Is that what you believe?" Knox asked. "Is that what you think of me? Of us? I don't know what to believe anymore. He's right, you know. I have baggage. A crazy ex, a child." Knox was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice had changed. Softer, but no less intense. "Do you remember why I do the kindness experiment every year?" Serena nodded her head. "For your father?" "Yeah, because my father taught me that money reveals the truth about people. When they think you have nothing to offer, you see who they really are." He reached out and tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet his eyes. "I've met hundreds of people during those experiments. Some kind, some cruel. But you, Serena, you brought me home. You fed me when you barely had enough for yourself and your daughter. You trusted me with your child before you knew I had a dollar to my name." His thumb traced her cheekbone, wiping away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. "Do you know how rare that is? How long I've waited for someone who could love me without the money, the power, the status? Someone who saw me, really saw me when I had nothing? Knox, you are not a project. You are not a charity case. No, you are not some temporary distraction until someone better comes along." His voice cracked slightly on the last words. "You are the woman I love. The woman I choose. And nothing Travis or anyone else says is going to change that." Serena was crying fully now, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm sorry I let him get in my head. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. Don't apologize." Knox pulled her into his arms, holding her tight against his chest. "Just trust me, please. Trust us." "I do trust you." Serena pressed her face into his shoulder. "I do." They stood like that for a long moment, wrapped in each other, the tension slowly bleeding away. Then Knox spoke again, his voice shifting to something colder, harder. "How did he get past reception?" Serena pulled back slightly. "What? You said he charmed his way past the receptionist. She just let him up? No call to announce him? No verification?" I think so. He was at my desk before I knew he was in the building." Knox's expression went flat. Serena recognized that look. She had seen glimpses of it before. The CEO, the billionaire, the man who commanded empires and crushed competitors without breaking a sweat. It was terrifying. And, if she was being honest, a little thrilling. "Knox," she said carefully, "what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking that someone gave an unauthorized person access to a secure floor." His voice was ice. "Someone endangered you, in my building. I won't let it slide." "What are you going to do?" He kissed her head gently. "Don't worry about it." The next morning, Knox walked into Morrison Financial like a storm front moving across open water. Employees who recognized him stopped in their tracks. Those who didn't took one look at his expression and got out of his way anyway. He had presence, authority, an aura that commanded attention and demanded respect. This was not the charming, playful man who built block towers with Rosie. This was the billionaire CEO who had built an empire before he was 30. Danielle, the receptionist, looked up with her standard professional smile, then went pale as death when she saw who was approaching her desk. She knew who he was. Everyone knew who he was. "Mr. Crawford," she stammered, scrambling to her feet. We weren't expecting you to come into—" "3 days ago," Knox said, his voice cutting through her stammering like a blade. "A man walked into this building. He told you he was looking for one of my employees, Serena Brooks." Danielle's face went from pale to gray. He said he was family. And you let him up, without calling ahead, without verifying his identity, without following any of the security protocols you were trained on. He seemed so sincere, sir. He said he was her ex-husband, that he was trying to reconnect with his daughter. So, a stranger told you a compelling story, and you gave him unrestricted access to a secure floor. Knox's eyes were glacial. Did it occur to you that he might be lying? That he might be a threat? That you might be putting an employee, a woman, in danger? Danielle's lower lip trembled. "I didn't think—" No, you didn't. Knox placed both hands on the reception desk and leaned forward. Do you understand what could have happened? What might have happened if he had been violent? If he had been unstable? I'm so sorry, sir. I'm so sorry. It won't happen again, I swear. You're right. It won't. Knox straightened. Because you're fired. Pack your things. Security will escort you out. The words hit Danielle like a physical blow. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Please, she whispered. Please, Mr. Crawford. I need this job. I have student loans and my mom is sick, and you should have thought about that before you endangered my... Knox stopped abruptly. My what? My employee? My girlfriend? My family? How could he define who Serena was to him at his company without inciting jealousy from her colleagues? Without making others feel she got her role just by connection? Before he could finish the sentence, the elevator doors opened, and Serena walked out. She took in the scene in an instant, Knox looming over the reception desk, Danielle crying, security guards hovering nearby. Mr. Crawford. Serena crossed the lobby quickly, her heels clicking against the marble, careful to use his last name. What's going on? I'm handling the security breach. By firing her? He didn't answer. Serena looked at Danielle, really looked at her. She saw a young woman barely out of college, mascara running down her cheeks, trembling with fear. She saw herself 2 years ago. Desperate. Vulnerable. One mistake away from losing everything. Mr. Crawford? Serena said quietly, barely holding back from touching his arm. Can we talk? In private? Please. Knox's jaw tightened, but he nodded once. He turned to the security guards. Wait here. He let Serena lead him to a quiet corner near the elevators. You can't fire her, Serena said. She put you at risk. She made a mistake. A mistake that could have gotten you hurt. But it didn't. Serena took his hands in hers. Knox, I know you're angry. I know you want to protect me, and I love you for it. But that girl, she's young, she's naive. She believed a charming man who told her a good story. That doesn't make her evil. It makes her human. It makes her a liability. It makes her someone who needs better training, not unemployment. Knox was silent, his jaw working. If you fire her, Serena continued gently, you're punishing her for the same thing I did. I believe Travis too. I let him into my life. I almost let him convince me that you would leave me. By your logic, God, shouldn't I be fired too? That's completely different. Is it? Serena squeezed his hands. Travis is a professional manipulator. He's been fooling people his whole life. She didn't stand a chance. Neither did I. The difference is that I have you to help me see the truth. She has no one. Knox stared at her for a long moment. You're asking me to let this go. I'm asking you to give her a second chance. Serena held his gaze. Like you gave me. Something shifted in Knox's expression. The ice began to thaw. She'll be on probation, he said finally. 6 months. Any other breach and she's out. That's fair. And she's getting retrained. Extensively. Also fair. Knox exhaled slowly, some of the tension leaving his shoulders. How do you do that? Do what? Make me feel like an unreasonable monster and a lovesick fool at the same time. Serena smiled, rising on her tiptoes to kiss his cheek. It's a gift. It's infuriating. You love it. I love you. Knox caught her hand before she could pull away. That's the problem. That's the solution, Serena corrected softly. Come on, let's go give that poor girl the good news before she has a complete breakdown. Danielle cried even harder when Knox told her she wasn't fired, but this time they were tears of relief. Thank you, she kept saying. Thank you, I'll never let you down again, I promise. Save the gratitude for Ms. Brooks, Knox said gruffly. She's the one who advocated for you. I wanted you gone. Danielle turned to Serena with wide, grateful eyes. Thank you. I don't know how to... Just learn from this, Serena said kindly. And if any man ever shows up claiming to be someone's family, you call up first. Always. Yes, ma'am, absolutely, I will. As they walked toward the elevator, Knox shook his head slightly. You realize you just made me look soft, he muttered. You are soft. I am not soft. I am a ruthless business mogul. Who builds block towers with 2-year-olds and cries over shirts? I did not cry. I had allergies. To emotional gestures. Very rare condition. I remember. Knox stopped walking and turned to face her, one eyebrow raised. You're mocking me. A little. In my own building. Technically, it's Morrison Financial's building. Which I own? Semantics. Knox's lips twitched despite himself. You're impossible. And yet? Serena stepped closer, lowering her voice. Here you are, choosing to spend time with me. Worst decision I ever made. Liar. Knox's eyes darkened with something that made Serena's breath catch. He leaned down, his lips brushing her ear. Best decision, he murmured. And I'd make it again. Every single time. Then he straightened, nodded professionally to a passing employee who was trying very hard not to stare, and pressed the elevator button. Dinner tonight, he said, as if he hadn't just made her knees weak in the middle of a corporate lobby. I'm cooking. You can cook? I'm a man of many talents. Name 3. Making billions, looking devastatingly handsome. He paused as the elevator doors opened. And convincing stubborn women to give people second chances. Serena laughed as she stepped into the elevator. Nah, that last one is generous. I'm a generous man. You tried to fire a 23-year-old for believing a sob story. And you stopped me, which means I generously allowed myself to be convinced. Knox hit the button for the executive floor. That's personal growth, Serena. You should be proud of me. I'll be proud of you when you actually cook dinner without burning anything. Challenge accepted. The elevator doors closed on Serena's laughter. That night, Knox did cook dinner. He burned exactly nothing. And afterward, as they sat together on the terrace watching the stars come out, Serena felt something she had almost forgotten how to feel. Safe, loved, home. But that peace was shattered once more by a call. 3 days after the incident at Morrison Financial, Travis called. Serena stared at the unfamiliar number on her screen, her stomach dropping. She knew. Somehow she just knew. It was him. Hello? She answered, her voice guarded. Serena. Travis's voice was warm, apologetic, dripping with rehearsed sincerity. I wanted to say sorry for showing up at your job like that. It was wrong of me. Yes, it was. I was just so desperate to see you, to talk to you. I've been going crazy thinking about Rosie, wondering if she's okay, if she's happy. Serena closed her eyes. She was standing in the hallway outside Rosie's room, where Knox was currently reading their daughter a bedtime story. She could hear his deep voice through the door, doing silly character voices that made Rosie giggle. She's fine, Serena said flatly. She's happy. I'm glad, I really am. Travis paused. Look, I know I messed up. I'd at your office, with the phone call before that. I've been handling this all wrong. What do you want, Travis? I want to see her. Just once. Supervised, like you said before. You can be there the whole time. Your boyfriend can be there if that makes you feel safer. His voice cracked artfully. I just want to meet my daughter, Serena. Is that really so wrong? Serena pressed her hand against her forehead. Every logical part of her brain screamed no. But the guilt, that persistent, nagging guilt, whispered, what if? What if he really had changed? What if Rosie grew up resenting her for keeping her father away? What if she was being unfair? One visit, Serena heard herself say. This Saturday, here at the house, Knox will be present. And if you do anything at all, to make me uncomfortable, you're gone. I'd permanently. I understand. Travis's voice was warm with gratitude. Thank you, Serena. You won't regret this. She already did. When she told Knox about the call, his reaction was immediate and visceral. No. They were in his study, the door closed, Rosie safely asleep down the hall. Knox stood by the window, his silhouette rigid against the night sky. Knox? Absolutely not. He turned to face her, his expression hard. He showed up at your workplace uninvited. He manipulated a receptionist to gain access to you. He has made threat after threat. And now you want to invite him into our home? It's a supervised visit. We'll both be here. That's not the point. Knox crossed the room, stopping inches from her. His presence was overwhelming. The height, the intensity, the barely leashed frustration. The point is that he's dangerous. Not physically, maybe, but emotionally, psychologically. He knows exactly which buttons to push. I know that. Do you? Knox's voice softened, but his eyes remained fierce. Because 3 days ago, you couldn't look at me. You were pulling away. You believed his lies over my truth. Serena flinched. That's not fair. It's absolutely fair. He got inside your head once. What happens when he's standing in our living room playing the reformed father, making you doubt everything we've built? Then I'll have you there to remind me what's real. Knox was silent for a long moment. Serena reached out and placed her hand on his chest. She could feel his heartbeat, fast, agitated. I need to do this, she said quietly. Not for him. For me. I need to see for myself who he really is. And I need to know I gave him a fair chance before I close that door forever. And if he hurts you again, then you'll help me pick up the pieces. Serena held his gaze. Like you always do. Knox exhaled slowly. His hand came up to cover hers against his chest. Saturday, he said finally. 1 hour. I will be in the room the entire time. And if he so much as looks at you wrong, you'll destroy him, I know. Serena rose on her tiptoes and kissed his jaw. That's one of the things I love about you. Only one of the things? You have a list? I do. It's extensive. I update it daily. Despite the tension, Serena laughed. You're ridiculous. And yet. Knox wrapped his arms around her, pulling her close. Here you are. Here I am, she agreed softly. Exactly where I want to be. Saturday arrived too quickly. Travis pulled up at exactly 2 p.m. in a car that looked far too expensive for someone with his supposed circumstances. He was dressed carefully. Nice jeans, a casual button-down, nothing too flashy. Playing the humble, reformed father to perfection. Serena watched him from the window, her stomach in knots. He's here, she said. Knox came to stand behind her. He was wearing the midnight blue shirt, her shirt, and the sight of it steadied her somehow. His hand settled on the small of her back, warm and grounding. I'll be right beside you, he said quietly. The whole time. I know. If you want him gone at any point at all, just say the word. I know. And afterward, I'm taking you to dinner. I'm somewhere obscenely expensive where the portions are tiny and the pretension is overwhelming. Serena surprised herself by laughing. You really know how to treat a girl. I'm a man of refined tastes. Knox pressed a kiss to her temple. Ready? No. But let's do it anyway. Travis brought gifts. A massive stuffed bear for Rosie. Flowers for Serena. A bottle of wine that he presented with a sheepish smile. For the house, he said, handing it to Knox. I didn't know what you liked, so I went with something classic. Knox accepted the bottle with a polite nod that didn't reach his eyes. Thoughtful? I wanted to make a good impression. Travis's smile was self-deprecating. I know I have a lot to make up for. They moved to the living room, where Rosie was playing with blocks on the carpet. Then Eleanor had dressed her in a pretty yellow dress with matching hair ribbons, and she looked absolutely adorable. She also looked absolutely terrified. The moment Travis entered the room, Rosie went still. Her big eyes fixed on the stranger, and she scooted backward until she bumped against the couch. Hey there, princess, Travis said, crouching down to her level. He held out the giant teddy bear. Look what I brought you. Isn't he cute? Rosie stared at the bear, then at Travis, then at her mother. Mom, she said, her voice small and uncertain. Who that? Serena's heart cracked. This is... She swallowed hard. This is your daddy, baby, remember? We talked about this. Rosie's lower lip trembled. She shook her head slowly. Not my daddy. Travis's smile flickered. Sure I am, sweetheart. I'm your daddy. I've been away for a little while. Not my daddy, Rosie repeated more firmly this time. She scrambled to her feet and ran, not to Serena, but to Knox. Knox! She crashed into his legs and wrapped her arms around them, clinging tight. Knox, up, up! Knox bent down and lifted her onto his hip in one smooth motion. Rosie buried her face in his neck immediately. Hey, little one, he murmured. It's okay, you're okay. Want Knox? Rosie mumbled against his shoulder. Stay with Knox. Serena watched Travis's face as he processed what was happening. His daughter, his biological daughter, was rejecting him completely, running to another man for comfort, calling that man by name while refusing to acknowledge her own father. For just a moment, Travis's charming mask slipped. What Serena saw underneath made her blood run cold. And it wasn't hurt. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't the pain of a father being rejected by his child. It was fury, pure, calculating fury. Then the mask was back, and Travis was laughing ruefully. I guess I have my work cut out for me, he said lightly. She doesn't remember me at all. She was 3 months old when you left, Serena said quietly. She never knew you. Then I'll just have to help her get to know me now. Travis settled onto the couch, still holding the rejected teddy bear. Can she come sit with me? Maybe if I'm not standing over her? Serena looked at Rosie, who was peeking at Travis from the safety of Knox's arms. Rosie, baby, do you want to sit with your daddy for a little while? No. Rosie's voice was muffled but firm. No want. Sweetheart, no. Knox's arm tightened around the toddler. She's made herself pretty clear. Travis's jaw clenched. Kids need to learn that they don't always get what they want. She's 2. Exactly. The sooner she learns... She's 2 years old, Knox repeated, his voice dropping to something cold and quiet. And she doesn't know you. Forcing her to sit with a stranger because that stranger happens to share her DNA isn't parenting. It's bullying. The temperature in the room plummeted. Travis and Knox stared at each other. 2 alpha males sizing each other up. The charming ex-husband and the billionaire protector. I think maybe we should take a break, Serena interjected, her voice strained. Have some coffee. Let Rosie calm down. Good idea. Knox didn't break eye contact with Travis. Rosie, do you want to go find Eleanor? Aunt, I bet she has cookies. Cookies, Rosie perked up immediately. Want cookies? That's my girl. Knox set her down gently. Go on, we'll come find you in a little bit. Rosie ran off without a backward glance at Travis. The silence she left behind was suffocating. They made it through an excruciating hour. Travis tried everything, asking about Rosie's favorite toys, her favorite foods, her favorite songs. He was patient and gentle and seemingly genuine. But Rosie wouldn't engage with him. She would answer in monosyllables, always looking to her mother or Knox for reassurance. She wouldn't let Travis touch her. She wouldn't accept the teddy bear. She wouldn't even make eye contact for more than a few seconds. And with every rejection, Serena could see Travis's frustration mounting beneath the charming surface. Finally, unmercifully, the hour was up. I should probably go, Travis said, standing and stretching like this had been a casual social visit. Don't want to overstay my welcome. I'll walk you out, Serena said. Knox stood as well, a silent shadow at her side. At the door, Travis turned back with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. This was good, he said. A start, at least. We should do it again soon. Let Rosie get used to me. We'll see. I'm not giving up, Serena. Travis's voice was soft, intimate, meant for her ears alone. I told you, I'm going to be part of her life. Part of your life. Whatever it takes. He leaned in slightly, not quite an attempt to kiss her, but close enough to make Knox step forward. Goodbye, Travis, Knox said firmly, opening the door wider. Drive safe. Travis's eyes flickered with something ugly before the charm slid back into place. Of course. Goodbye, Serena. I'll call you. He walked out without another word. The moment the door closed, Serena sagged against it. "That was awful," she whispered. "That was informative." Knox's voice was grim. "Did you see his face when Rosie ran to me?" "I saw it. That wasn't the reaction of a loving father. That was the reaction of a man whose plan wasn't working." Serena looked up at him. "You think he's playing an angle?" "I know he is. I just don't know what yet." Knox pulled out his phone. "But I'm going to find out." Over the next 2 days, Travis became increasingly persistent. He called daily. He sent flowers to the mansion. He texted Serena long, emotional messages about how much he wanted to be a family, how much he missed her, how much he regretted the past. And slowly, insidiously, he started planting seeds of doubt. "I worry about you, Serena, living in that big fancy house that isn't yours, depending on a man who could change his mind any day. Does Rosie call him daddy? Because that would break my heart. I'm her father, Serena. Me. I've been doing some research. Fathers have rights, you know, legal rights. I don't want to go that route, but if you keep shutting me out..." The threats were subtle. The manipulation was masterful. And despite herself, despite everything she knew, Serena felt the doubts creeping back in. Knox noticed. Of course he did. He noticed everything about her. He noticed how she checked her phone with increasing anxiety, how she flinched slightly at Travis's name, how she started second-guessing decisions she had been confident about just weeks before. He noticed the distance growing between them, small at first, then wider. The way she would stiffen slightly when he touched her. The way her smiles didn't quite reach her eyes. One night, after a particularly tense dinner where Serena had barely spoken, Knox confronted her. "This has to stop." They were in the bedroom. Serena was sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at her hands. Knox was standing by the window, his silhouette tense against the night sky. "What has to stop?" Serena asked, though she knew exactly what he meant. "Travis getting inside your head, making you doubt yourself, making you doubt us." Knox turned to face her. "I can see it happening, Serena, day by day. He's poisoning you. He's Rosie's father. He's a manipulator. Those aren't mutually exclusive." The words came out sharper than she intended. Serena pressed her hand to her mouth, shocked at herself. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I didn't mean..." "Don't apologize." Knox crossed the room and crouched in front of her, taking her hands in his. "Tell me what you're thinking, really thinking, not what Travis has convinced you to think." Serena felt tears burning behind her eyes. "I don't know anymore," she admitted. "I look at Rosie, and I wonder if I'm doing the right thing. Am I protecting her or hurting her? Am I keeping her from her real father or saving her from a monster? What if he really has changed? What if I'm the problem?" "You are not the problem." "How do you know?" Serena's voice cracked. "No, how do you know I'm not just a bitter ex-wife who can't let go of the past? How do you know..." Knox silenced her with a kiss. It wasn't gentle or tentative. It was fierce and claiming, a physical declaration of everything words couldn't express. His hands cupped her face, his thumbs wiping away the tears that had started to fall. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. "I know," he said quietly, "because I've seen you, the real you, the woman who took in a homeless stranger without expecting anything in return, the woman who gave up her own clothes to buy me a shirt, the woman who wakes up every morning and works herself to exhaustion to give her daughter a better life." He tilted her chin up, forcing her to meet his eyes. "You are kind. You are brave. You are the best mother I have ever witnessed. And you are not bitter. You are cautious. Because you've been burned before. Because you know what it feels like to trust someone who didn't deserve it. But what if..." "No more what ifs." Knox's voice was firm. "Travis is manipulating you. That is a fact. And tomorrow, I'm going to prove it." "How?" "I've had people digging into his life for weeks. The results came back today." Knox's expression darkened. "And I think you need to see what they found. For now, you have to sleep." The next morning, they sat in Knox's study with a folder spread across the desk between them. Serena stared at the photographs, the documents, the damning evidence of who Travis really was. Her name is Margaret Holloway, Knox explained, pointing to a photo of an elegant silver-haired woman in expensive jewelry. She's 63 years old. She's worth approximately $80 million, mostly inherited from her late husband. And she's with Travis? Has been for almost a year. He's been living in her estate, driving her cars, spending her money. Knox flipped to another document. She's also been trying to adopt a child for the past decade, but she keeps getting rejected. Why? Age, mostly. Health concerns. And the men she tends to get involved with. Knox's jaw tightened. Her last relationship was with a man who had fraud convictions. The adoption agency didn't look kindly on that. Serena's hands were trembling. So Travis remembered he had a biological child he'd never claimed. Knox's voice was ice. Not a child who conveniently comes with a mother he believes is desperate enough to believe his lies. He wants to give Rosie to her, Serena whispered, the horror of it settling into her bones. He's not trying to be a father. He's trying to sell our daughter to his girlfriend. That's exactly what he's doing. Serena stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. She walked to the window, her arms wrapped around herself, trying to hold back the sobs building in her chest. I almost believed him, she said, her voice breaking. I almost let him back in. But you didn't. Knox came up behind her, his hands settling on her shoulders. Your instincts knew something was wrong. That's why you kept pushing back. That's why you insisted on supervision. He played me. He tried. He failed. Knox turned her to face him. It's because you're stronger than he gives you credit for. And because you have people who love you enough to fight for you. Serena buried her face in his chest, finally letting the tears fall. Knox held her, one hand stroking her hair, murmuring quiet reassurances against her temple. What do we do now? She asked finally, her voice muffled against his shirt. Now we end this. Knox's voice hardened with resolve. Permanently. The legal response was swift and devastating. Knox's team of attorneys filed for immediate termination of Travis's parental rights. The grounds were multiple and damning. 2 years of complete abandonment, zero financial support, zero contact, and documented evidence that he was attempting to acquire custody not for love, but to satisfy his wealthy girlfriend's desire for a child. When Travis received the papers on a Monday morning, by Monday afternoon, he was at the mansion gates, screaming into the intercom. You can't do this. She's my daughter. I have rights. Knox stepped outside alone, leaving Serena and Rosie safely inside with Eleanor and 2 security guards. Travis was pacing the driveway like a caged animal, all pretense of charm gone. Call off your lawyers, he demanded. Call them off right now. No. I'll fight this. I'll fight this all the way to the Supreme Court if I have to. With what money? Knox's voice was calm, almost bored. Margaret cut you off, didn't she? The moment she found out you were trying to get back to your ex without telling her why. Travis's face went white. Oh yes, Knox continued, a cold smile playing at his lips. I know about that too. I know she kicked you out 3 days ago. I know you're currently sleeping in your car. You're probably planning to give Serena to the next barren couple if she doesn't let you back for her sake. You had no right to contact her? I had every right. She deserved to know what kind of man she was involved with. Knox stepped closer, using every inch of his height advantage. Just like Serena did. Just like everyone you've ever used and discarded. Travis's hands clenched into fists. For a moment, Serena, watching from the window, thought he might actually swing. But even Travis wasn't stupid enough to assault a billionaire on camera. This isn't over, he growled. Yes, it is. Knox pulled an envelope from his jacket. Termination of parental rights. Sign it and I won't pursue criminal charges for harassment and attempted fraud. Fight it, and I will bury you so deep in legal fees and investigations that you'll never climb out. You can't make me. I'm not making you do anything. I'm giving you a choice. Knox's voice dropped to something quiet and deadly. Door number 1. You walk away. You never contact Serena or Rosie again, and you get to keep what little dignity you have left. Door number 2. You fight me, a billionaire with unlimited resources and a very personal stake in this outcome, and you lose. Spectacularly. Publicly. Permanently. He held out the envelope. Choose. Travis stared at him. At the envelope. At the mansion looming behind Knox. And something in him broke. Without a word, he snatched the envelope and ripped it open. He read through the document quickly, then pulled a pen from his pocket and signed. There, he spat, shoving the papers back at Knox. Happy now? Immensely. Knox tucked the signed papers away. Security will escort you off the property. Goodbye, Travis. He turned and walked back toward the house. She'll realize what you are eventually, Travis shouted at his retreating back. All you rich men are the same. You'll get bored. You'll throw her away, just like... The security guards moved in, and Travis's voice was lost to distance. Inside, Serena was waiting. The moment Knox walked through the door, she threw herself into his arms. It's done, he said, holding her tight. He signed. He's gone. Forever? Forever. He can never claim her. He can never contact you. Legally, he no longer exists in your lives. Serena pulled back to look at his face. Her eyes were bright with tears, happy ones this time. I love you, she said. Have I mentioned that lately? Not in the last hour. Knox smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. I was starting to worry. I love you. I love you. I love you. She punctuated each declaration with a kiss. There, that should hold you for a while. It's a start. From down the hall, they heard little feet running toward them. Mom, Knox! Rosie burst into the foyer, her face bright with excitement. Bad man gone? Knox crouched down to her level. Bad man is gone, little one. He's never coming back. Rosie considered this with the gravity only a toddler could muster. Good, she declared. I know like him. Yeah? Knox ruffled her hair. Who do you like? Knox, and Mom, and Ellie. She counted on her fingers. And Mr. Flopsy? What about me? Serena asked, pretending to be offended. I said Mom! Rosie rolled her eyes with exaggerated exasperation. You not listen good. Knox burst out laughing. She's got you there. She's got too much attitude for a 2-year-old. I not 2. Rosie held up 3 fingers. I almost 3. You're 2 and 10 months. Almost 3. That's not how birthdays work. Almost 3. Serena looked at Knox helplessly. I can't argue with this logic. Don't look at me. I learned a long time ago never to argue with a woman who's made up her mind. Knox scooped Rosie up onto his hip. Right, little one? Right, Rosie beamed at him. We get cookies now? We absolutely get cookies now. I think we've all earned them. As Knox carried Rosie toward the kitchen, Serena stood watching them, her daughter and the man who had become her father in every way that mattered. Yoth, her family. Improbable, unexpected, perfect. Drop a comment right now saying bye-bye Travis, because that man is gone. But wait, we still have Gloria and Megan to deal with. And trust me, their takedown is going to be even more satisfying. With Travis officially out of the picture, Knox turned his attention to the other matter that had been burning in his chest since the moment he discovered it. Serena's stolen inheritance. He had never forgotten what he found in Gloria's filing cabinet all those weeks ago. The deed with Serena's name. The forged power of attorney. The evidence that Gloria had been living in Serena's house, spending Serena's money while treating her stepdaughter like a servant. But Knox had been waiting for the right moment, waiting until Travis was handled. Waiting until Serena was strong enough to face another battle. That moment had arrived. It was a quiet Tuesday evening when Knox finally told her. They were in his study, the fire crackling softly in the hearth. Rosie was asleep upstairs. The house was peaceful, settled. There's something I need to show you, Knox said, pulling a folder from his desk drawer. Something I found weeks ago. I wanted to wait until you were ready. Serena looked at the folder warily. Please tell me it's not more bad news about Travis. It's not about Travis. Knox hesitated. It's about Gloria and your father. Serena's expression closed off slightly. What about them? What exactly did Gloria tell you when your father died? About the will? She said, Serena frowned, trying to remember. She said Daddy left everything to her. The house. The money, all of it. She said he knew she would take care of things, that I shouldn't worry about the legal details. And you believed her. I was 20 years old and grieving. I had just lost the only parent I had left. I wasn't in any state to question her. Serena's voice turned bitter. Besides, it made sense. He married her. He chose her. He obviously loved her more than... She trailed off. More than you? Knox finished gently. Serena didn't answer, but the pain in her eyes said everything. Knox opened the folder and spread the documents across the desk. This is your father's actual will, he said. The real one, not the version Gloria filed with the courts. Serena leaned forward, scanning the papers with growing confusion. I don't understand. This says... It says everything goes to you. Knox's voice was quiet but firm. The house, the land, the trust fund, all of it. Your father left his entire estate to his daughter, to you, Serena. But, Gloria said, Gloria lied. Knox pointed to another document. This is the power of attorney she used to take control of the estate. It's a forgery. The signature doesn't match your father's handwriting. My analysts have confirmed that. And the witness signatures are from people who died before the document was supposedly dated. Serena's hands were trembling. She forged it. She stole everything. Yes. And the house, the mansion I grew up in, is yours, legally and rightfully yours. Knox reached across the desk and took her hand. Your father didn't abandon you, Serena. He didn't choose Gloria over you. He left you everything he had. She's the one who stole it. Serena stared at the papers, at her father's signature on the real will, at the words that proved, beyond any doubt, that he had loved her. He hadn't been happy with Gloria, she had suspected it, but now she confirmed it, and something inside her shattered. The sob that tore from Serena's throat was primal, raw. She didn't cry pretty, delicate tears. She wept, ugly, wrenching sobs that shook her entire body, years of pain and grief and self-doubt pouring out all at once. He loved me, she gasped between sobs. He actually loved me. Knox was around the desk in an instant, pulling her into his arms. Of course he loved you, he murmured against her hair. How could he not? I thought, Gloria always said, she made it seem like I was a burden. Like he only tolerated me because he had to. Like his real family was her and Megan, and I was just... She couldn't finish. She lied about everything. Knox held her tighter. Your father loved you so much that he left you everything. He wanted you to have the house, the security, the future. Gloria stole that from you, and then she made you believe it was your father's choice. All those years. Serena's voice was broken. I thought he didn't want me. I thought I wasn't enough. I carried that. I carried it every single day. I know, baby. I know. And she was living in my house, making me pay rent on my property, treating me like a servant in my own home. The grief was turning to anger now, hot and righteous. She kicked me out. She threw me out on the street with my daughter, and the whole time, she was the thief, not you, never you. Serena pulled back, her face tear-streaked and furious. I want it back. You'll have it. I want her out of that house. She will be. I want her to pay for what she did, for what she took from me, for what she made me believe about my own father. Knox cupped her face in his hands, wiping her tears with his thumbs. Then that's exactly what we'll do. The legal proceedings moved swiftly. When you had unlimited resources and overwhelming evidence, justice happened fast. Knox's attorneys filed fraud charges against Gloria. They presented the forged documents, the expert handwriting analysis, the witness testimonies. They demanded immediate restoration of the property to its rightful owner. Gloria tried to fight. She hired lawyers, expensive ones, funded by money that wasn't hers. She claimed the will was the forgery. She accused Knox of manufacturing evidence to steal her home. None of it worked. The evidence was irrefutable. The forgery was obvious once experts examined it. And Gloria's own financial records showed suspicious transactions in the days after Serena's father died. Payments to the forger, deposits into accounts that shouldn't exist. She was caught. Dead to rights. The day of the final hearing, Serena dressed carefully. She wore a simple but elegant navy dress, purchased with her own money from her own salary. Her hair was pulled back neatly. Her makeup was minimal. She wanted Gloria to see her clearly, to see the woman she had tried to break, the woman who had survived. Knox drove her to the courthouse himself, holding her hand the entire way. "Jen, are you ready?" he asked as they pulled into the parking lot. Serena looked at the building where her fate, and Gloria's, would be decided. "I've been ready my whole life," she said. "I just didn't know it." The courtroom was smaller than Serena expected. Gloria and Megan were already there, seated at the defendant's table. They both looked thinner than the last time Serena had seen them. Stress, probably. The expensive clothes couldn't hide the desperation in their eyes. When Gloria saw Serena walk in with Knox, her expression twisted with hatred. "There she is," Gloria hissed to her lawyer, loud enough for half the courtroom to hear. "The gold digger and her billionaire puppet master." "Mrs. Reynolds," the judge warned from the bench. "One more outburst and I'll hold you in contempt." Gloria fell silent, but her eyes never left Serena. Knox guided Serena to their seats, his hand steady on her back. "Don't let her get to you," he murmured. "This is almost over." The hearing proceeded quickly. The evidence was presented. The experts testified. Gloria's lawyers made desperate arguments that fell apart under scrutiny. And then came the moment Serena had been waiting for. Based on the overwhelming evidence presented, the judge declared, "This court finds that the power of attorney document used by Gloria Reynolds to assume control of the Mitchell estate is fraudulent. The property, assets, and holdings are hereby restored to their rightful owner, Serena Mitchell Brooks." Serena's hand tightened on Knox's. "Furthermore," the judge continued, "and Gloria Reynolds is ordered to vacate the premises within 30 days and is prohibited from any contact with Ms. Brooks or her minor child. Criminal charges for fraud and forgery will be pursued by the district attorney's office." Gloria shot to her feet. "You can't do this. That house is mine. I earned it." "You stole it," the judge said coldly. "And now you'll answer for that theft. Court is adjourned." The gavel fell. And just like that, it was over. Outside the courthouse, Serena stood on the steps, breathing in the crisp autumn air. She was shaking. Whether from relief or shock or pure overwhelming emotion, she couldn't tell. "Serena." She turned. Gloria was storming toward her, Megan trailing behind. Security guards moved to intercept, but Gloria stopped just short of the barrier, her face contorted with fury. "Not you think you've won?" Gloria spat. "You think this is over?" "It is over," Serena said calmly. "You lost. I raised you. I put a roof over your head. You stole my inheritance and made me pay rent on my own property." Serena's voice was steady, clear, final. "You made me believe my father didn't love me. You treated me like a servant in my own home, and now you're going to prison for it." "Your father was a fool," Gloria screamed. "He should have left everything to me. I was his wife. I took care of him, not you. You were nothing but a burden he was too soft-hearted to get rid of." "My father," Serena said quietly, "loved me enough to give me everything he had. And you were so jealous of that love that you tried to erase it. But you failed." She stepped closer to the barrier, looking Gloria directly in the eye. "I used to be afraid of you. I used to believe everything you said about me, that I was worthless, that I didn't deserve good things, that I should be grateful for whatever scraps you threw my way." Serena's voice hardened. "But I'm not that girl anymore. I have a daughter who loves me. I have a man who sees my worth. I have my father's house, my house back. And you?" She smiled, a cold, satisfied smile. "You have 2 days to pack your bags. I suggest you start now." She turned and walked away, Knox falling into step beside her. Behind them, Gloria's screams faded into nothing. Megan caught up with them in the parking lot. "Wait," she called out, her voice desperate. "Serena, wait." Serena stopped but didn't turn around. Knox's hand settled protectively on her lower back. Megan circled around to face them. She looked nothing like the polished, predatory woman from before. Her makeup was smeared. Her designer clothes were wrinkled. Her eyes were wide with panic. "I didn't know," Megan said rapidly. "I swear I didn't know about the forgery. My mother never told me." "You knew I was living in a shack behind my own house," Serena interrupted. "You knew I was paying rent to your mother for property that should have been mine. You knew, and you laughed about it." "I was stupid. I was cruel. I know that." Megan's voice cracked. "But I don't want to go to prison, Serena. Please. We grew up together. We're sisters." "We were never sisters." Serena's voice was ice. "Sisters don't try to seduce each other's partners. Sisters don't laugh while the other one suffers. And sisters don't stand by and watch their mother steal everything and say nothing. I can change. You had years to change." Serena finally met Megan's eyes, and what Megan saw there made her flinch. "You chose not to, and now you'll face the consequences of that choice." She stepped around Megan and continued toward the car. Knox lingered for just a moment, looking down at Megan with something like pity. "Word of advice," he said quietly. "Get a good lawyer, and pray for a lenient judge." Then he followed Serena, leaving Megan crying alone in the parking lot. 3 nights later, Knox drove Serena to the mansion. Her mansion. The house where she had grown up. The house where her father had tucked her in at night and read her stories. The house Gloria had stolen and Serena had finally reclaimed. They parked at the end of the long driveway and sat in silence for a moment, looking at the grand facade illuminated by the setting sun. "It's beautiful," Serena whispered. "It's yours." "I know." She laughed softly, a disbelieving, wonder-filled sound. "I just never thought, after everything, what do you want to do with it?" Serena considered the question. "I don't know yet. Part of me wants to move in. Raise Rosie where I was raised. Give her the childhood I had before. Before Gloria." "Yeah." Serena was quiet for a moment. "But another part of me wants to sell it. Start fresh. Build new memories somewhere that doesn't have all this baggage. You have time to decide." Knox took her hand, intertwining their fingers. "There's no rush. What about your house? What about it? If I move here or if we stay there, or—" Serena trailed off, suddenly uncertain. "I just realized we haven't really talked about what happens next. With us. Long term." Knox turned to face her fully. "What do you want to happen?" "I don't know." Serena bit her lip. "What do you want?" "I want you." Knox's voice was simple and certain. "You and Rosie, for as long as you'll have me. That could be a very long time. I'm counting on it." Serena felt tears prick at her eyes again, happy ones this time. "I love you," she said. "Have I mentioned that?" "Once or twice." Knox smiled, leaning closer. "But I never get tired of hearing it." He kissed her, soft and slow and full of promise. When they finally pulled apart, Serena rested her forehead against his. "Take me home," she whispered. "Which home?" She smiled. "Whichever one you're in." 6 months later. The wedding was small. Just close friends, a few of Knox's most trusted employees, and Eleanor, who cried through the entire ceremony. They held it in the garden of the mansion. Not Knox's mansion. Serena's mansion. The house her father had left her, now fully renovated and filled with new memories. Rosie was the flower girl. She took her job very seriously, scattering petals with fierce concentration and occasionally stopping to eat one. "Rosie, no," Serena whispered from the altar. "It tasty," Rosie whispered back. Knox laughed so hard he nearly dropped the ring. The vows were simple. "I spent 30 days pretending to have nothing," Knox said, holding Serena's hands. "And in those 30 days you gave me everything, a home, a family, a reason to believe that good people still exist." His voice cracked slightly. "You saw me when I was invisible. You loved me when I had nothing to offer. and I will spend the rest of my life making sure you never doubt how much that means to me." Serena was crying before she even started her own vows. "I thought I knew what love was," she said. "I thought I knew what family meant. And then you walked off a street corner and into my life, and everything I thought I knew fell apart. You showed me that love doesn't keep score. That family isn't about blood, it's about choice. You chose me, you chose Rosie, and every day I wake up grateful that you did." She squeezed his hands. "You are my home, Knox. Wherever you are, that's where I belong." The reception was chaos. Rosie ran circles around the adults and hopped up on sugar and excitement. Wesley gave a toast that was 3 parts business metaphors and 1 part genuine emotion. Eleanor kept hugging everyone and crying happy tears. And in the middle of it all, Knox pulled Serena onto the dance floor. "Mrs. Crawford," he said, spinning her gently, "that's going to take some getting used to. You have the rest of our lives to practice." Serena rested her head on his chest as they swayed to the music. "Knox? Yeah? Thank you. For everything. For saving me when I didn't know I needed saving. For loving me when I couldn't love myself. For being Rosie's father in every way that matters." Knox pressed a kiss to her hair. "Thank you for giving me something worth saving." They danced until the stars came out, their daughter eventually falling asleep in Knox's arms, like their future stretching ahead of them like a promise. Now let's leave our family where they belong, together, loved, and home at last. If this story touched your heart, drop a comment saying "best ending ever." Share it with someone who needs to believe in love. And make sure you're subscribed for more stories that will make you laugh, cry, and believe in happy endings. Remember, good people are always rewarded. Be kind to everyone you meet. You never know who might be watching. Until next time, stay blessed, stay kind, and never stop believing in love. Peace.